With the Liberals and Labor now getting closer together on border policy, does that create a vacuum for One Nation, say, to fill? Joining me is Pauline Hanson, leader of One Nation. Pauline, thank you so much for your time. The government is bringing children of illegal immigrants on our route to Australia. Good move?
No, I don't think it's a good move. The government made it quite clear to the people they will never, ever, ever end up in Australia. I think because we're leading into a federal election, I think they're really concerned about these minority groups, the refugee organisations, and also probably some of their backbenchers that are putting pressure on the government said we better do something about it. The repercussions, we need to look at this, of what it means. I think it will send a clear message to the people smugglers in Indonesia to say, hey, they've softened on this, so they will be actually taking those people with the children and say, look, they're softened, so then if you have children, they're going to eventually allow you into the country. So I think we've sent a wrong message here. People of Australia are compassionate, especially when children are involved, and that's, quite evident. But I ask the question of these people on Nauru. They've had, how many, 46 births since the time they've been there. If they are genuine refugees in fear of their life, have not been settled anywhere and have no indication of where their life is going to take them, where they're going to live, why would you bring more children into the world? It's because they know that they will use the children as pawns to get what they want to, and that's exactly what they've done. So I'm concerned about this, what the government has done, what it means to us in the future about our border protection, and I think Scott Morrison has weakened on this and has made the wrong decision.
What would you do with the children there then?
All right, I'll put the scenario to you. We've actually gone through a processing of these people. They're found not to be genuine refugees, but economic refugees that have passed the countries. Now, let's define what a refugee is. A person who flees a country in fear of their life. They've passed many countries to get here and paid a lot of money, and a lot of them have actually destroyed their identification because they know they're not genuine refugees under persecution in their own countries. What if we threw our hands up in the air and said, OK, we're not going to provide any health care, we're not going to do any more for you in that country, we're not going to provide your welfare, we're not going to provide your telephones, cigarettes, condoms, nothing. You're on your own 2 feet. And the Nauruan government turns around and says to them, OK, we want you off the island, you must find your own way home, back to your own countries. What would they do? What would anyone do about this? They've used us as pawns. We're seen as fools across the world as far as I'm concerned. Yes, there are children involved, but a lot of these people have used their children as pawns in their game to get here into Australia. A lot of these people will never work the rest of life. They're on our welfare system. They get, choices of house, to go into our housing, healthcare and everything else before Australians. And I'm fed up with it, and so are a lot of other Australians. And even refugees, genuine refugees that have come to this country previously have said to me, Pauline, we are so angry about it. We came here the right way as migrants or as genuine refugees, and they can see the scam that's going on.
We should explain, I guess, why you're standing in a noisy street right now. You are in fact standing right outside your old fish and chip shop that made you so famous, Pauline.
Too right.
Now, another woman running a fish and chip shop.
I did a lot of hours here, I can tell you, 10 years.
Well, you're getting itchy fingers to go in and show them how it's done. Listen, another woman in Queensland running a fish and chip shop is Carolyn Kerr, and she's named her shop the Battered Wife. And for that wordplay has been condemned on social media by Queensland Attorney General, by Queensland Opposition Leader, by the Women's Electoral Lobby, and she's now so fed up with being accused of encouraging domestic violence. Here she is.
To assume that I was making light of the subject, that I was promoting it, no one's going to walk past my shop and say, oh, the battered wife, hey, how about we take some advice on this? That's just ludicrous. But the way that it's been misconstrued, it's actually quite offensive. And then the threats started and the abuse and the upper cases, for want of a better word, through it. And the backlash I received just because of a suggestion that one person did without doing any research. No one went through the page and it just went like wildfire. And it's disappointing at the mentality of the people that have thrown this at me, that they condemn the violence, they condemn domestic violence, but they're using that same intimidation, the same abusive tactics.
Pauline, battered wife. Is that a bad choice of name for a fish and chip shop?
Doesn't worry me. I tell you what, if I ever ended back in here, I'd change the name to the battered politician. So, no, I don't see any problem with it. You know, people have become so precious. They really have. You can't say or do anything. I was wondering, using the name wife because they want to get rid of gender identity. Maybe they were more upset with using the word wife or husband. Look, I think people need to actually get over it. I think they've become too damn precious. They really have. You know, maybe the fact is that's how we serve our fish. It's either battered or it's actually crumbed. And maybe she is a wife. She's working there. She feels she's been absolutely battered. She's in a fish and chip shop. So what? Get over it. I think there's more things to worry about in our society. I'm worried about, you know, calling the fish and chip shop the battered wife.
Hey, which of those shops behind you is your former fish and chip shop? I can't quite make it out from here.
The one called Marsden Seafood. That was
well,
the one.
My eyes are not too good. I mean, not only do I have a cold, I'm half blind. Oh, well, have you been in to say hello?
No, I'm going to call over and get some fish and chips tonight before I go home. But no, they're people that have had it for some years now, and they're not doing too badly with it. But I've got a lot of memories there. Andrew, I can tell you, a lot of long hours, 80, 90 hours a week as a single mother with 2 children. Youngest one was 2.5 when I bought it, so 10 years in that shop. So that's where I met the real Australians, and I had my conversations with them, and I've never forgotten it, and I can still go behind a counter and cook up a mean, you know, plate of fish and chips.
Good on you. Now, before we go, Pauline, the Australian National War Memorial is going to be expanded. $500 million, $500 million is going to be spent on it. Look, I'm all in favour of the War Memorial, but does that strike you as a little bit excessive?
It does sound a lot of money, considering the situation that we have in Australia with a lot of people are crying out for some assistance or help, and especially Townsville. You know, they need $220 million for water pipeline to give them assurance for water in Townsville, which I'm fighting for. The whole fact is, I can see it, and I think Dr. Brendan Nelson has done a fantastic job in his position with the War Memorial. You know, it is a place that I hold in high esteem. I think a lot of Australians are very proud of it, but the amount of money they're actually spending at this time, when I can see the money could be used in other areas, maybe if it was done in stages, instead of $500 million up front, if it was done in stages and added on too, so it's a lot of money. But every Australian should be proud of that War Memorial and what it stands for and what it replicates, and telling every what war or engagement we've been involved in tells a soldier's story, and it reminds us of what the sacrifices have been made to give us our freedom, our way of life in this country. So I'm torn between the two, I really am, and I feel for these soldiers who want some recognition, because we have so many out there, like we have, you know, it's estimated 4,000 that are homeless. People that fought for our country are actually, you know, on drugs or alcohol or PTSD, and we don't regard them or look after them. So if the money was used to actually help these people, I think that would be more beneficial in the interim.
Yeah, well, anyway, we'll discuss more of that later on with the panel. Oh, I said that was the last question. I'm about to discuss with the panel Malcolm Turnbull today in open conflict with the new Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. You must be looking at that thinking, what on earth is going on?
I said before he went over there to cancel it, he shouldn't be going over there. You don't know what he's going to say over there, what he's going to say to the media. Malcolm Turnbull, you know, has turned on the Liberal Party. He's got a vendetta against the Liberal Party, and he's got a vendetta against Scott Morrison, although I think he was pushed into taking that challenge up against Peter Dutton. So Scott Morrison owes Turnbull nothing. Not a thing. He needs to stand strong on this, get rid of Turnbull. He's not a friend of the Liberal Party. He will not be, and he will actually put the knife in their back to ensure that they do not win the next election, because Turnbull wants to say, see, I told you so. You shouldn't have got rid of me.
Look, I can't agree more, and I find it amazing that that wasn't seen right from the start. But anyway, there you go. We'll have more about that with the panel soon. Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Andrew. Good night.
Good night. Enjoy your fish and chips. The panel is next.